Thank you, Riv. Team Liquid definitely demonstrating some solid team play there. I would have to say that that's probably the biggest takeaway, is the fact that they established a team composition that wanted to, set up the team fight on their own terms and then executed on it.
Yeah, I was a little worried when we saw the champion select before the AD carry, because it's like, all right, we have Lulu and Nunu and Janna. Protect the substitute AD carry. Let's do it. But then Keith actually played pretty well. The rest of the team rallied around him, and they found the right team fight. So he was pressing the right buttons. He had a good game.
Yeah, and then they ended up playing against kind of a pick-oriented composition, and they had so many shields. It's really hard to get through. And the fact that it was a Kog'Maw AD carry versus a Sivir AD carry, Kog'Maw is going to shred through your front line a lot faster. And also Rush not building tanky was a big part of that too.
Yeah, I have to imagine a fair amount of the comp was also tailored due to that first pick LeBlanc. You're showing immediately what you want to do. Yeah. And on, a character like a champion like that on a player like Zhao, I mean, that's who you're looking to counter going up against TIP.
Yeah, and also you saw his damage was very, very minimal in these team fights. He was getting like Janna ultied into the wall, Gnar ultimate every time. He was just the main focus there of shutting him down. And I kind of have a hunch that that was a strategy coming into it, because Peter is LMQ's old coach, and he's like, I know how to shut down Xiao, just keep going after him, putting pressure on him, and they really played around that perfectly.
I think a lot of it was just Peter Zhang putting together a much better team composition. Like, straight away from the first pick, LeBlanc, being able to build the Gnar, protect the Kog'Maw carry around that, great dragon control. Like, there was a very well-crafted composition there, and I know it's easy to say, oh, it's not that hard. You're just protecting the AD carry. I've seen that before. But the way they did that against the LeBlanc and against a team that they thought was going to be more solo queue oriented to kind of make the death ball, really smart.
And we heard Dominate point out, give some credit to Peter in that he crafted a great composition for them, has really stepped up and leveled their game up as a team. And this harkens back to, our first segment of the day where we were looking at which teams are going to benefit the most. I'd have to say Team Liquid looks to be like one of the top contenders.
And here's the thing. I mean, it's still really early on in the season. Team Impact didn't even have their coach here, right? It was their COO being a fill-in substitute coach. Like, they did not have the same type of analytical ability behind them in that game, and it showed.
Yeah. Well, it's a huge edge that really can't be overstated. And the fact that this is actually a veteran coach, because he did coach LMQ previously, he has that year of experience. And Kobe was here earlier talking about how good league coaches are really rare to find.
Well, and then you talk about having the experience, that veteran knowledge. We look at a player like Rush coming in, though, hasn't had much time, to work with the team. But, Jad, I want to let you kind of run with this topic for a second.
I'm still really excited to watch Rush, because I think Zarina's pointing it out during the game. He shows a lot of really dominant jungler solo queue tendencies. He keeps his farm up really high, he keeps his levels up, and he plays a lot of aggression in the enemy team's jungle. But that's also a solo queue strategy for a reason, right? It doesn't necessarily transition. He was like 1-3, warrior enchantment, what's his next item? Longsword.
Right.
Like, you're just trying to get kills to get back into the game, which honestly works. Jarvan's one of the best solo queue champions by far in the jungle. And unless you're building him for the competitive environment, it's not necessarily going to work.
Yeah, and the fact that he's always going in the jungle too, like trying to get those advantages, very solo queue oriented thing, because when you're in team play, they just collapse on you like 2 seconds faster than before. And it's something you have to get used to and have to play with a lot.
I do like, though, that he
can work.
Yes, it can work.
And I was going to say, I do like that he stayed aggressive in his warding, right? So a lot of the times when we saw him going into the enemy jungle, he was looking to get that deep vision to provide some safety to his laners around the blue side jungle and things like that. The problem is, though, again, you're going in with a longsword and a warrior enchantment. I mean, if you do get caught out, you're done for.
Yeah, and also the team just needs to come together, tighten things up, and since he's the shot caller, we're going to be seeing more aggressive plays out of him like that. When the team gets more familiar with him, if they can all kind of join him in there.
Okay, so really yeah, exactly. I think bright spots for TIP, we have to look at their solo lane farm, right?
Yeah.
You could see glimpses.
Yeah.
You could see glimpses of a strategy that works. I mean, you go to their website, they want to play impulsive, is actually what they say. And it can work. Imagine when they get Season 3 World Champion, top laner, Impact, Xiao, who can out-CS pretty much anyone, and they actually get control of those two solo lanes in tandem with Rush having that intense jungle invading and a little bit of familiarity actually going to collapse and help him. it's a really, really dangerous strategy that could end up paying off later in the season, just not yet.
Yeah, and Xiao usually plays off of feel and how people are positioning, so the more he plays with Rush, the more he's going to get kind of adapted to his style.
Yeah, and I want to take now a jump over to Team Liquid's side, and I want to analyze what we think in terms of they built this one composition for this very specific scenario. When they bring Piglet back in, Piglet, another stellar AD carry. Do you think maybe they're going to kind of convert over to this? Let's just, if it's working to protect the ADC, let's use it with him too.
Well, I don't see why they wouldn't also try that with their world-class AD carry and Piglet. But overall, I think they have a lot of compositional strengths. It's not all roses for them, though. Only because we look at the mid lane Phoenix, outside of good team fight performance, he was getting a little bit knocked around in the lane, and he had a few sloppy rotations. Like, there's still going to be some improvements that this team has to go through.
I want to bring up the final fight of the game as a replay. Zareen, I'm going to have you walk us through this one because I want to talk about how Team Liquid set up the fight properly. And even Kobe mentioned that there was a little bit of a bait out possibly with the Janna ultimate. So we're going to pull that up on your screen right now, and I'll have you walk us through it.
So the big setup for this, you wanted me to talk about that, is this was set up from Dragon number 1. This is the 4th Dragon in the game, and we've been talking all day long about Baron and Dragon, and people being like, Dragon, the 4th one, and the threat of a 5th is the most valuable part of it, and kind of that power creep. You don't really feel it until you're at this part of the game. So Team Liquid end up just kind of disengaging this fight. Xpecial has a really good ultimate here, and they're kind of baiting them into this dragon fight that they have to take. They have to be here, else it's a 5th dragon. They are Baron buffed up, but it's still not enough. So we're going to roll the clip out here, and you're going to see this team fight. Rux is trying to flank around. He has TP'd in here, and Xpecial, he heals them up. And this is just the shredding of Keith and just the great team fight prowess of Team Liquid. Rush goes in. He's still very ham all game long.
Notice, too, I see Xiao up on the top left of the screen here. He has thrown out a chain and a single distortion so far this fight.
Yeah, this is kind of like a repeat of a lot of fights that we've seen of Xiao this game. Is he doesn't get a lot of abilities off. He's gap closing a lot with his W and kind of mimicking it with his R. And then he gets in, he's like, I have a chain and a Q, and then he doesn't land the chain or the chain is broken. There's a lot of things not going well for Xiao off of picks and bans and inside of the game and gameplay.
And I have to imagine a lot of that's the foresight, though, of Team Liquid. Being able to set up that front line of Nunu, right, and Gnar, and saying, hey, we have a Kog'Maw in our back line, and you have a Sivir. We win this standoff, right? And they're setting up the fights on their turns.
You could see the Kog'Maw was a little bit fed by the end of that fight. I mean, even just a distortion, and because Kog'Maw has such ridiculous range, the last auto attack followed him past the distortion. I mean, when that happened, they knew they had the game won. But like Cyrene was saying, they won that game in small steps throughout the entire 40 minutes.
And it becomes deceptive because we've spoken all day about, the stacking of the dragon buffs versus the gold differential and things like that. And even we were commenting about halfway through that game there that things seemed a lot more even, than they actually were. But then it's deceptive because you've got this Kog'Maw who's going to scale late. It's very interesting introducing this, the stats buffs versus just straight up gold, judging the power spikes. And I have to imagine it's just as difficult for the players, if not more so, to do in-game.
Yeah, it's going to come with a lot of time. In that game, you could just feel the presence and pressure was pretty much always in the side of Team Liquid.
Yeah, and the way that, you're talking about the gold, it's kind of like Team Impulse kind of bought a hammer, and then Team Liquid went out, spent the same amount of money, but bought like 6 different tools, and then was able to use all of them against them. So it's like, you come in, we're going to polymorph you, we're going to do all these different things to you, and kind of get them from all angles. And I thought it was really brilliant play by them because they were playing around what was being built and the composition. I can't stop talking about the composition. It was just really well drafted.
And I do have to say, the polymorphs were on point from Phoenix, although he did get bullied around a little bit, so we'll look for him to individually level up his play a little bit. But in the team fights, he was on point. Now, there is still a lot more league action coming your way. After the break, we'll dive into our 5th and final match of the day, Counter Logic Gaming versus Team 8. Stay with us.
Even with the wolf buff, gonna see them. And there's the miss in the EQ. Rush, first one away, one hit from death. I will dominate, tries the root, the ice blast, first blood.
Are you good? We're coming.
Place a word. Oh, no, throw back. No. They shouldn't fight.
We got free tower.
They're going.
I'm missing all.
They're still gonna go.
To be in.
I'm ulting.
I need help. I'll show
I'm just on thresh, I'm on thresh.
Let's go, Aurelia. Let me help, let me help.
Yeah, kill Aurelia, kill Aurelia. Aurelia now, Aurelia now. You're good, you're good, you're good.
Okay, I need back.
Just back. We won that fight solo.
Yeah, we won the half. Good bot.
And there's the fight. Jumps him all right back in. Flay back. Dominant loses the ultimate. Who really cares? Floss is tanky. Locks on back. Rush when hit. Dead force to flash out. Great ult by X Special. No one takes any damage. I take it back. Phoenix nearly goes down. So much work done by Apollo here. Rux, this is scary. There's no disengage. The knockback on Adrian. They set him on the wall. There's the ulti in, but Rush is in the back lines. Can they get the damage? Keith kites it away. 2 for 0. This is going to be Team Liquid picking up almost everybody.